All right, leaders, welcome to today's special live broadcast. I'm so blessed and honored to be your coach and your friend in the conversation that we're going to have over the next hour. So I'm doing this special live broadcast, never done it before. And as you can see by the title, this is a response to COVID-19 from the perspective of your mindset. So I am your host today, Camille Rose-Soler. I'm the founder of The Ultimate Life. As you can see here, this nice big old logo. So if you're completely new to me and what I do, I am a peak performance coach to CEOs, entrepreneurs, and real estate professionals. So I work with a lot of high impact leaders, business owners, and my particular specialty in coaching is all on mindset and perspective. One thing that I have seen in sort of my 7 to 8 years of being in the coaching field is that it's really your mindset, really the story that you tell, that we need to address first before we tack on any of the other tools and practices. Because if this is not even right, it's going to be really difficult to achieve anything at the highest level. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, where you know what you're capable of, but something holds you back. Or there's that thing you're afraid of, or you just can't figure out why you just can't get over that one area of your life where you seem to tell the same story over and over again, or you run into the same issues over and over again. Well, my job is to help you get unblocked so you could play at the highest level of your game. So today, what I wanted to do as a service to you all and to the community, this is 100% free, but just a conversation on what it looks like to lead from love during times of fear. If you've been watching me for a while now, you always hear me say this little tagline, lead from love, lead from love. And that really is my philosophy, both as a coach and as a leader in my own business, is that I am doing my best to make love the easy choice, both for myself and for you as a leader. And to me, fear is the easy choice, right? We all react to fear like that. You know, we hear this thing about a virus spreading across the planet, fear. And that's a natural reaction. It is very serious and we need to take it seriously. However, many of us only stay in reaction mode and then we don't engage our response mechanism. And I believe that if you're watching today's episode, if you've opted in or if you've been following this work for a while, it's because you are a leader some way, somehow. And if you're thinking right now, Camille, I'm not that big of a leader, or, my business is not that big. No, you are a leader. The fact that you are willing to spend time right now to clear your mindset and become better. Jim Rohn became famous for saying that if you want more, then you must become more. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, is I hope to give you some of the key coaching tools and leadership practices and techniques that I know will not only grow you as a leader, but that way you can be a beacon of steadiness and light within your community, because Lord knows we need it right now. We definitely need more people like you bringing that steadiness, that creativity in the chaos, and that steadiness in the storm. So thank you again for being just that leader of love. And I want to give you some tips for today's conversation that I think are going to help you and your team and your family. So if you got kiddos with you, then I want everybody to do me a favor, grab a pen or a marker and a piece of paper or a notebook and get ready to take notes. And this is how I want you to take notes. Anytime something that I say really resonates with you, and what resonates is you feel it in your heart, you might say, ooh, I really like that. Or, ooh, that was a good line. Or, that was for me. I want you to write down what I said. And again, don't worry if you didn't catch it, if I spoke too fast. I am recording this and I will post it on my YouTube channel. So don't do it right now, because I want you to definitely watch this session right now, but make a little note for yourself. Go to YouTube. You can type in my name, which is right here, Kamille, Rose Soler. And then be sure that you subscribe, because every single Monday I put out a new video to help you with your mindset. And I will be posting that recording there. So again, grab your notebook and your pen. And if you're just joining, please type in the chat. Let me know your name, where you're from, and if you've got any kiddos with you. And if you do have the kiddos with you, I kind of want to know, what's their favorite cereal? Erin was just telling me her kids is Lucky Charms. Looking at the chat right now, Rick Carlson, thanks for doing this. You're so welcome, brother. And also, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will address that at the end of today's session. All right, let's jump into it. So today, this is what our conversation is going to look like. So when you coach with me, if you're part of my coaching group, or you've been to a webinar of mine, I'd just like to kind of give you a roadmap of where I'm going to take you. And then we'll see sort of where God drives the car from there. I always like to leave room for the Spirit to come in. So we're going to cover 5 things. I want to give you a quick intro to who I am and what I do in case you're totally new to me. If you're not new to me and you've known me for a while, I'm sorry you got to hear the spiel again, but bear with me here. Number 2, I want to give you some key tools to alleviate any anxiety or fear that you might feel. So again, key tools for alleviating the anxiety and fear that you might feel. Third, I'm going to jump into the importance of relationship and community while social distancing. So social distancing has become the key buzz term lately, and it's super important because we need to physically be away from each other in order to reduce the spread of the virus, which makes sense from a public health perspective. And yet, I've also seen a really poor mindset from many people about social distancing, which is, oh man, I can't go out, I can't talk to people. No, that is not true at all. So I want to make sure that we have the right mindset when it comes to what the opportunities are at this point in time, because in everything, there is an opportunity. In everything, there is a blessing. It's just up to you to take on the challenge to look for it. And then we're going to go into finding creativity in chaos. I think this is one of the most important things as a sign of a great leader, is somebody who can be creative and resourceful in times when resources are scarce. There's not as many things on the grocery store shelves. You don't have the ability to just get distracted by sports and big events and concerts anymore, or even going to your local gym. So you got to get creative because things aren't just overflowing in abundance anymore from that perspective. But guaranteed, they are overflowing in abundance from another perspective. So we just got to engage that side. And then lastly, what being a leader of love means. See, one of my big missions here is to train the most inspirational people on the planet. And I believe one way we can do that is making sure that people make love the easy choice when they are leading. Love doesn't always necessarily mean, oh, I'm just supposed to be kind to everybody, Camille, and I'm supposed to let things go. Look up the definition of love from an ancient standard. That love is patient, love is kind, it is forbearing, it forgets wrongs. Love is actually not the version of love that sometimes we think it is. There's more to it, and you can look that up in scripture. And so that's what we're going to cover today. Real quick again on the chat, Mike D, what's up? You're in the house. Let's go. What's up, brother? So happy you're here. Are the boys watching? Thomas, thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Ryan Thompson, my kids don't eat cereal. They might need a DNA test. That's okay. I didn't eat cereal either. I ate rice and hot dogs for breakfast. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And Jessica, my kids love Fruity Pebbles, and right now they are into these Reese's Puff cereal. Cool. Jessica and the kiddos, hello everybody. All right. So I wanted to also let you know, if you want a copy of today's slide deck, there's going to be a lot of great information on here. Then you can easily just email me at coaching@theultimatelife.com. And then just put in the subject COVID-19 talk. And then I'll have my team reply to you right away and send you a PDF of today's deck. You can take a screenshot, use your phone, but I'll show this at the end too. All right, so who am I and what is it that I do? So as you know, I mentioned I'm a peak performance coach to CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high performance leaders, but where it all began is like this. So this is me in my super fly mini Kanye West outfit. I had the glasses before he did. And I actually started out as a little girl with both my parents. We lived in Muscovina, California. I was born and raised in the LA area. And that was a 1991 white Camry that I used to sit in with my dad all the time. He was a realtor, and he still is. And I remember sitting in the passenger seat with him, with this Thomas guy, this exact one, sitting on my lap, and I was his Siri as we would go around to post up signs for all his open houses. So if you're wondering, Camille, why do you also coach real estate professionals? It's been in my blood ever since I was a little girl. Even though I wasn't an agent, I understood the hustle and the grind and the lifestyle. So we used to sit here and he would just tell me, okay, Camille, tell me where Cherry and Lemon Street is. And I would go D4, E6 and find it for him. I was Google Maps before there was one. So I understood the lifestyle really well, but I also understood the ups and downs that came with real estate, the volatility of it, the constant needing to be in touch with your clients and prospecting and selling and making sure that everyone was taken care of, because it's not an easy business to be in. And being an entrepreneur, being a leader in general, having a business is not easy because it's not always guaranteed income. You're always needing to be innovative. You're always needing to be creative. You have to deal with a lot of chaos in any industry. So I knew what that was like. Now, with that said, it also caused a lot of stress on my family. And then my parents decided to divorce in the 1980s because it was just too much. And I remember as a little girl just feeling so depressed and so sad, thinking, you know what? Maybe that's how real estate is. Maybe that's how business is. It destroys families. It causes too much stress on people. So I hate it. And so I kind of grew up not even really liking business and real estate because I thought that, man, it destroys families. It destroyed mine. But as I got older and I had my own dips in life, I remember being 27 years old and basically laying down on the bathroom floor of my mom's house, just crying my eyes out. You know, I had a really bad breakup. I didn't have a job. I moved back into my mom's house. I didn't even have a car at the time. And I remember looking into the mirror, just thinking, who is that woman? Hating the woman that I saw in the mirror. And it was a really unfortunate time for me because everybody else on the outside, all my family and friends were looking at me thinking, oh, Camille's so great. She's so smart. She's so successful. She's traveled the world. She could have any job that she wants. But when I looked at myself at 27 years old in my mom's bathroom mirror, I didn't like the woman that I saw at all. And that was a very dangerous place for me to be in. And so I remember in that moment, I just surrendered it all. I remember I looked up, I spoke to God, and I was like, you know what? I don't know who I am or who you want me to be. So show me. And from that point on, it almost felt like my life took a momentum of its own. And I decided to really dive deep into the self-development work, not just read the books and, see the quotes. And I was always kind of into Oprah and Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn. I read things here and there, but now I really invested in the work. I started going to seminars. I started really doing the journaling. I started writing. I would get a coach. I invested in a mentor and a success program before I could even afford it. And I can't tell you how much my life began to turn around when I started to heal myself and do the really deep inner work that needed to be done. Only from there was I able to start serving from a higher place. And I remember a very distinct moment. It must have been in 2012 or 2013. I went to a Tony Robbins conference in Chicago. I call it my defining moment. After surrendering in my mom's bathroom, then going to Chicago and finally investing and taking action, I remember being at his conference with 5,000 people jumping up and down, screaming at the top of their lungs, breaking through from whatever pain that they were in. Obviously, this was before social distancing, 5,000 people crowded in a room touching each other. And I remember standing in the back of the room because typically at these seminars, I don't like to be in the front. I like to be in the back and observe things. And there must have been a straight line between me and Tony Robbins on the stage, this huge 6'7" guy just screaming and jumping. And I felt this surge of electricity from the top of my head down to the tips of my toes. And I distinctly remember it was almost like a whisper in my ear right in that moment that said, and this is exactly what I need you to do. And I was so shocked and so excited. I was like, yes, that's it, God. That's why I haven't felt the excitement and the full potential that, my life was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't excellent. And I felt like I got my calling in that moment. I could do that. I could stand on that stage and I could do exactly that. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to help people with. Just break through to the highest level of their God-given potential. And I was so thrilled. I got my life calling. And then the second thought came in. And the second thought said this, that's nice and all, Camille, but he's a 6'7" white guy with a booming voice. You're a 5'2" woman of color. No one's going to even see you from the stage. And I remember just feeling so shocked that was even a thought in my mind. Because, I'm 28 years old now at this point. I've got 2 degrees from the #1 public university in the world. I'm a strong, independent woman. And that's what I thought. So it was like my life calling and my subconscious self-limiting beliefs collided at the same time. And I remember going from excitement to depression all in within 15 seconds. And I walked out of that room feeling so confused and so sad. And a gentleman stopped me and said, "Hey, honey, you having a good time at the conference?" And I told him, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Doesn't seem like it." And he saw right through me. So we engaged in a conversation, told him what I'm telling you right now. And then I remember he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You realize that Mother Teresa was 4'10" and she changed the world." and she barely spoke. And it was almost like I snapped out of my fog of sadness. And he said, honey, it has nothing to do with your physical size. What matters is what's in your heart. And he pointed right here. And he said, if God planted a calling on your heart and you know it to be true, then you must do it. And I remember I just stood there for a second looking at him in shock. And he goes, all right, have a good time. Bye. And he just left. And I never saw him again. So I call him my little earth angel because in that moment, he also saved me from my own fears that were not real. And he gave me a new perspective. And that's when I started working on the ultimate life. So it led me to where we are today. And then I started working with all of these real estate professionals. I had a great group of friends. In fact, one of them's listening today, Michael Dela Cruz, my brother from another mother, also a mentor of mine. You know, he started Dossier Capital along with two other amazing partners, also family men. And I just poured into them whatever I could, all my talent when it came to branding and marketing, and I would sit down with them. And I remember one day after helping all of these realtors, sitting down, listening to the vision for their life, he said, why don't you consider executive coaching? And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, okay. So I started pursuing the ultimate life, created my own brand. And after we started doing more self-development seminars, I started speaking, doing mini workshops, then it exploded. After many years of hard work and hustle, here I am today getting to speak to you all, being part of the Forbes Coaches Council, which is an invitation-only group, speaking at different real estate offices all around the country, and then just being able to pour into you. And so this is kind of where we're at now. I have the YouTube channel where you can go in every single Monday, and my goal is to inspire you to, again, lead from love. I have partnerships with different groups to just change your mindset into one where you can literally live your ultimate life, along with my private group coaching membership. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that background, because if you have ever doubted God's calling on your life, or if you try to cut yourself short from what you know you should be doing, then my encouragement to you is to remember to take just one step, because I didn't see the whole roadmap to where we are today. If you asked me at that Tony Robbins conference 6-7 years ago, if I would be talking to a group of, now look, our participants are well over 50 people online, probably going to get to 100 in a second, about how to lead from love during our global pandemic, I would have never, ever thought that would be the case. So you never know where God's going to take you, but you have to take the first step. So now let's step into, speaking of which, the content. So when I was in that place of fear, what were the things that helped me alleviate that? Because the truth was, even though that guy came into my life and he told me, hey, Camille, all right, just go do it. Mother Teresa did it, you can do it. That didn't mean my fear went away. It just gave me a little bit more of a push, a new perspective to say, okay, then it's possible for me too. So I want to give you and your family and your team just a couple of tools that when you start to feel the panic and the fear rise because you've been watching the news all day, or people are just sending you random text messages and it's not coming from the experts or the scientists who are actually doing the work, then I want you to start using some of these tools, and you can use them with your kids as well. So here is the first tool. And I want to skip over this just for the sake of time, but this is my triad of mastery. Again, you'll get this in the PDF of how to seek mastery in these parts of your life. All right. I want you to answer this as I get into the first tool. What is your biggest fear right now? What is your biggest fear right now with everything that's happening? Go ahead and type that in the chat box. Do you even have a fear? Let me know. What is your biggest fear right now? Type that in the chat box. I want to hear from you. And the second question I want you to answer for me is, what have been most of your conversations lately? What have they been about? Have you only been talking about coronavirus, or have you also been talking about opportunities during this time? Because what you also converse about, what you speak about, what the words that come out of your mouth tell me a lot about your mindset and where you're at. So what is your biggest fear right now? And what have most of your conversations been about? And thirdly, this is a really important question for you to answer and type into the chat box. What do you believe or what do you know to be true about life right now? What do you believe and what do you know to be true about life? This is also going to be so important because whatever your answer is to this question tells me the driving force of your life. This is actually the rudder that steers your ship through the storm. So even if you're with your kids, ask them, what do you believe to be true about life? What do you think about people? What do you know is going to happen no matter what? This is going to be the thing, again, that steers your ship through the storm. So I'm going to take a quick pause. I want to check the chat. Let's see here. Biggest fear is I fear not taking advantage of this amazing time. Wow, what a great, hold on, I just want to stop right there. Rick, you must be doing some inner work because that's actually a really great perspective. You're actually more worried about not taking advantage of this amazing time. So, one of the things, Rick, then you can just say, I'm focused instead of I fear. Maybe it's I focus on taking advantage of this amazing time, finding new ways to serve. But that's a really interesting, and I like that perspective. Kyle, what's up, my man? Fear of the unknown. Yeah, that's a really common fear, especially for people who like control. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're CEO, you're used to being in control. That's probably why you started your own business, because you wanted to be in full-fledged control. So when it comes to the unknown, you will actually become a stronger, better, wiser leader when you get really comfortable with the unknown. And that's why I'm asking this question, what do you believe and know to be true about life? Because that's actually the known. We never actually know the whole roadmap to everything, but the ones who have been the most successful, both in business and their personal life, are the ones who stick to their values no matter the season. So what you want to know more than anything else is, what do I value and what is my focus? If I focus on this is my mission and this is what I value, no matter what the situation, we'll figure it out. It's kind of like your compass and your map. So you're not dependent on external circumstances to give you the roadmap to anything. Because as we know, people can be finicky and they're going to be all over the place. All right. Thank you, Kyle. I'll go to a couple more. Denise, that my loved ones will get sick and die. Yeah, that's a big fear. And that's a huge fear. And so that's why we take every single public health measure we can to be able to avoid that. But worrying about it, if it's not there, will not add a single hour of peace or joy to your life. So the key focus here is focus on what you can control right now. Many people are overplaying worst case scenarios, and not enough people are thinking of, well, what is the blessing right now? Remember that anxiety is living for worry about the future. Depression and regret is living about worry from the past. And that's why peace can only come from the present. When we're fully here, we're fully now. What can I do right now? So thank you, everybody, for being really open. All right, Jerry, business collapsing and not being able to provide for my family, right? Which is why the creativity in chaos is going to be so important right now. Thank you, everybody. I'm blessed to live in the time and place I'm in. Wonderful that I will fail. Yes, that's a big fear for most people, that people are going to get stupid and start harming other people, right? Which is why you must become the change that you want to see in this world. That instead of retaliating too, then be what you want to see. Be that peace, be that steadiness, be that informed citizen who's also kind and generous and not only operating in full scarcity all the time. Our conversations have been about both COVID and how it might affect the economy and in turn, our business. And thank you for sharing that, Jerry. What's really interesting, I just spoke to a client who went to a mastermind event, literally gathered with a few people this past weekend to actually think of ideas of how they can not only benefit, but do well during this season. Pretty amazing. So we can also switch these conversations. So I love all the feedback. Again, I'm going to keep moving us along. I will get to these in a second, but I do want to read at least one, what I believe to know and be true. And I'll read this from Kim Panett. What a great statement here. She said, Kim, what do I believe and know? I am blessed in 1,000 ways. Things will get rough. Either me or my friends will probably lose a loved one during this time and all times. Ah, interesting. Meaning death is inevitable. So it would have happened regardless, but of course it's speeding up during this time. But what an interesting perspective. And she said here, I have full faith the Lord will hold me when I can't walk through that day, and will give me grace and forgiveness when I fail, and will teach me lessons that will grow me in my faith and help me help others in the future. Thank you for sharing that, Kim. And so here's what's interesting. If you know Kim, I don't know Kim, but I'd love to get to know Kim, is when you watch her live her life, even if she never told you this, it would be evident, because that's what she uses to steer her decisions and steer her choices. So even though we're talking about fears right now, and maybe most of your conversations are about COVID and the business and the economy, here's where I want you to zig as a leader when everybody else is zagging. I want you to talk about, with your family and your friends, and maybe just to yourself, what do you believe and know to be true about life right now? Because bringing up those values and steering your rudder is what needs to be the focus right now. So this can be, if you choose, the main conversation you have. Because we already know most people are not going to be talking about this. Most people are already going to be talking about whatever the media tells them to talk about. But you, as a leader of love, you get to stand strong and shift things for people, shift the perspectives. You can influence the room greatly just by the place that you stand in, based on the beliefs that you have. Remember, you believe first, and then you act. So always asking yourself, what is it that I believe? And then I just got a question right now. Kalani, can you share the questions again? Yes, we will be able to go over this in a second. You'll get the PDF, but what is your biggest fear right now? What have most of your conversations been about? And what do you believe and know to be true about life right now? All right, now let's go to the key tools. So now that you know your fears, you're very clear, okay, these are the thoughts that are running through my head. It's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not the end game. The mind is just telling you what's coming up. But you, again, have full control on what you decide to do from here on out. And remember, you're not a tree. So you can move, meaning you can move perspectives. You can move to a new word usage. You can move over to a new habit. Yes, you might be quarantined physically, but you can still move in thought and in choice. Remember, we were made to move. We were made to continue to grow and expand. So everything is constantly changing. So when people say, I fear change, I fear the unknown, honey, that's the only inevitable thing about life, is that it's always changing. In fact, our planet doesn't even stop moving. Even if you don't notice it, everything is in movement. So the minute you can accept change is the inevitable. But what doesn't change, and it's up to you, can be what I believe to be true in this moment, what I'm grateful for in this moment. These practices that can help you. So the first key tool to alleviating your anxiety and fear is what I call go big. With your family, with your friends, with your team, first thing to talk about, BIG, after getting to the necessary, is begin in gratitude. It'll take you less than 30 seconds to do what is one thing you are most grateful for. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to give each one of you 30 seconds. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to type in the chat box what is something you're extremely grateful for right now. So let's begin in gratitude. My video will go off for 30 seconds, and I want each one of you to type, what are you extremely grateful for right now? 30 seconds, go. You have 10 seconds. All right. I'm extremely grateful for the roof over my head, my family, my health, my prayer. I love it, love it, love it. She's extremely grateful for the internet. Yeah, I know this situation is horrible, but what a time that if we're going to be asked to social distance physically, How great that we have the means to be able to connect in other ways, in multitudes of ways. Imagine if we didn't have this, back in the 1920s, 1930s, when they had these big, sweeping illnesses across the nation, and you physically really couldn't talk to each other and you had to be at home. So who are you talking to? So amazing. Maricel says, oh, hey girl, welcome. Grateful to be presently safe and sound with my family, and grateful that I have supportive coworkers, my group chats with all my friends. Yes. So number one tool to alleviating the anxiety and fear, the minute you feel the panic, just think, all right, go big. What is something I'm really grateful for right now? You have to flex this muscle. It is a muscle. Just like fear is a muscle, and we've been flexing it a lot. Why? Because it's all over the media. Imagine if you had a 24/7 news cycle that was nothing but positive news all day. Imagine you're watching this news cycle and they just keep talking about how amazing people are. Like, hey, latest news, a neighborhood comes together and helps out 5 people who were struggling. All right, next story, somebody else saves this person's cat. Okay, next story. And it's just, you're watching that 24/7. And to some of us, we even hear that content, they're like, yeah, Camille, that's not going to happen. Not that many good things happen in our universe, in our world. I argue the opposite. I'm really blessed. I get to talk to a lot of people who are in this gratitude mindset, and they are sharing exactly the good things that are happening. So you can do the same. You have control over this. Because remember, if you can rule your mind, it will not rule you. So this is one way. Number one tool with your kids right now, ask your kids, what are they really grateful for? What are they really happy about? And when I say go big, feel it. Don't just say it, yeah, my roof over my head, my food. I mean, thank God. And if you have to, imagine the opposite. Imagine right now you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you didn't have a roof over your head, and you had to be in 30-degree weather outside without clothes on. How miserable would you be, right? And so it's like, thank goodness, thank God, I've got warm weather here. All right, so that's go big. Number one, share this practice with your team, share this practice with your family, do it. That's the main thing here. Don't just take in the information, because information without application equals zero transformation. Information without application equals zero transformation. So the people who have the most success in Leaf, the people who have the most success with me, even as clients, are the ones who go out there and they get it done. They apply this. All right, your second tool during this time of fear and anxiety is the 4-7-8 breath. Now, if you watch my Monday Mastery Minutes, you may have seen this in my last video called Peace Over Panic. So the 4-7-8 breath is really simple. I want you all to do it with me right now. Go ahead and remove everything from your hands. Place both feet on the floor. And all you're gonna do with your hands on your lap, face down, you can close your eyes if you'd like. Take a few deep breaths, just kind of relax. And then you're gonna inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. And I'll guide you through right now. We'll do it 3 times. So inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7, 5, 3, 2, 1, and exhale out for 8 seconds. 7, 8. Now let's do that one more time. Inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale slow. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one more time. In for 4. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale slow, let it go. For 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you're ready, go ahead and blink open your eyes and come back into this space. Not bad, right? Hopefully you feel a little bit calmer, more in control, more centered. And that took us less than 30 seconds to do. That's the 4-7-8 breath. Why this breath is so important. We are operating from two nervous systems here. You have your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, or freeze system. This is our primal system that gets us to survive. And so when we are operating from that system, those parts of our brain that are like, okay, we're going to fight, there's something going on, there's a virus, we got to survive, and we breathe like this, right? Everything gets tight, we're like this. Now, for most of us, there's not a saber-toothed tiger running after us. The virus is not coming after you right now. If you're at home and you've practiced everything you need to practice, washed your hands, Purelled, you've got good physical distance from things, and you're physically safe, then I want you to engage in the 4-7-8 breath, because that engages the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and our digest. The rest and digest system is when we're sleeping, we're totally relaxed, we feel safe, and your body actually goes into healing mode. This is the most optimal mode as well for building your immunity. That's why people say, when you're not feeling well, sleep. Because when we're sleeping, when we're in rest and digest, the body can go to work. So one quick way to engage your rest and digest and get out of fight, flight, or freeze where you're so tense, breathe. I call it power in the pause. Your breath is one of your most powerful modalities for getting your power back and your peace back. So use the 4-7-8 breath. If you notice, okay, everyone's kind of panicking, hey, everybody pause, 4-7-8, let's go. And literally just breathe 3 times if you have to. And this is for you too. If you want to think more creatively, if you want to get in more control of yourself and your mindset and clarity, practice the 4-7-8 breath 3 times. Eyes closed or open, doesn't matter. And get your center back. So that's your second tool, the 4-7-8 breath, in alleviating the fear and anxiety from fight and flight mode, and then going into the calm, the power, and the peace of your rest and digest mode. And then the third and final tool that I want to give you to make this doable is your perspective. So remember that a lot of our fears are based off of what we are paying attention to. So your perspective is not only influenced by what you believe, so we talked a little bit about that earlier when you were asking that question, but the information that you are intaking. And when I say the information that you are intaking, you want to look at 2 things when you're looking at information. You want to look at the actual message itself, right? Which is, okay, is it factual? Is it coming from the right source? And then you also want to look at the medium, meaning, is it coming from TV where there's a lot of flashy lights and headlines and I can easily get distracted? Or is it coming from a very boring blog from the CDC so that my fear doesn't get activated and I can just read the facts? So remember that part of your perspective, how you are seeing things right now, is based off of where you are intaking information. So my challenge to you is, if you want calmness, if you want steadiness, if you want to be able to be creative during this time, then are you going to sources that are also calm and steady and information-based? Or are you taking in information from people who are also overreacting, from the media that has a ton of lights and flashy things going on? And I know it's not very fun or, exciting to just read what the CDC puts on there, or a really boring health blog, but that might exactly be what you need, just to take in the information so you can make calm decisions. So your perspective is also influenced by the information that you take and the way that information comes to you. So be more discerning, be more controlling about, okay, where am I getting my information? So you don't get so riled up. All right, so that's something I want to give you, because your perspective, at the end of the day, in the fear of the unknown, the perspective is the only thing you ever have control over. So if you want full control, this is where you practice it. How I see things. And I want you to look at it this way. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. So when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. And that's why you can't just have one perspective. I mean, you can, but it's dangerous. So think of it this way. if your perspective is like having tools in a toolbox and you've only got one perspective, so that means you have one tool. My only tool right now is a hammer. Then every problem that you approach, you're going to use that one tool, that one perspective, everything I'm going to fix with a hammer. Here's the cool thing. If the problem is always a nail, you're good. We just hammer away. But if the problem is fixing a broken window, you don't have the right tool. And you only have one perspective. So you're going to come at that broken window, and what are you going to do? You're going to ruin it even more. So the idea of also engaging the muscle, you want to flex this muscle of new perspectives. How else can I look at this? And I'm going to give you some questions that are going to help you with that. How else can I look at this? It's like adding more tools to your toolbox. Okay, now I got a screwdriver. Oh, now I got an actual window fixer. I don't even know if that's a tool, but I'm just going to say that for right now. I'm not in construction. If you're in construction, you can type in here right now if there's a tool for fixing windows. But then if you've got new perspectives and you're finding creative ways to look at things, then you can come up with a creative solution for everything. You and another person, collaboration and community is going to be important with that. Here's why. People will also see the same thing, or they will see different things from the same object. So for example, Lori just in the chat right now, Lori and I might look at a situation and she has one perspective, exact same situation, and I have a completely different one. Who's right and who's wrong? Doesn't really matter. We just have different perspectives on the same thing. And if we came together, we actually might be able to find the ultimate solution. So instead of fighting against what's right, who's wrong, who's wrong, look at, well, what's that perspective? Where's the truth there? What's my perspective? What's the truth there? Is there a commonality in what we're saying? So flex the muscle of looking at your perspective. And again, I'm going to give you some questions to help you flex that muscle. So now that we've given you some key tools, again, go big, begin in gratitude, start with the gratefuls, start with them. Then the 4-7-8 breath to calm yourself when you feel the panic and the anxiety creep up, activate your rest and digest system versus your fight, flight, or freeze system all the time. And then also now looking at my perspective. What is my story about the situation? Where am I intaking the information from? Because the medium is affecting my perspective of this. So now third, I want to talk about how the importance of relationship and community while you're social distancing right now. And before I get into it, I just want you to put in here if there are any questions so far. I'm going to just double check anything that I've covered in those 3 tools that you're wondering about. I'm going to check the Q&A. Oh, I got a really great feedback here. Doc Kalani, my values are clear. Yes, and in fact, I don't know if you all can see him right now. There's a gentleman here named Kalani. Reach out to him. He's an amazing doctor, chiropractor up in the Northern California area. And you talk about a coach who has his values clear because he practices it on a daily basis. That's the guy you want to speak to. That's part of your success squad. And I'm going to get to that actually right now, is the people you should be surrounding yourself with is vital during this time. And if your first thought was like, Camille, we can't surround ourselves with people. We're not supposed to be around them. Aha, I already cut one of your limiting beliefs. Because there's other ways, just like today. Look, I know the president said don't gather a group of 10 people physically, but look, we got a group of about 50 people online. So it doesn't mean that the relationships in the community can't keep going. We just got to get really creative about it. So now let's get into this. This is going to be a very simple one. There's a distinction here, and this is what I mean by perspective. There's always kind of 2 ways we're looking at things. There's emotional distancing versus social distancing. Just because the public health measures have asked you to physically stay away from each other, aka social distancing, so that you don't further transmit the virus, and that is so key and so important right now as we battle this and we have our healthcare workers on the front lines. Let's respect that and keep their job or make their jobs easier. Yes, we social distance. However, that doesn't mean you need to be emotionally distancing from one another. Emotional distancing is not social distancing. They're 2 totally separate things. In fact, you can even get closer to people during this time. There is no grander time for us to come together when we're all fighting against something that is harming us. right? The coming together right now just needs to be more creative, whether that's you making a commitment to reach out to one family member or friend per day who you haven't reached out to in a while. And all you got to ask is, how are you guys doing? How are you and your family? Do you need some supplies right now? Is there anything I can be doing for you, even from a distance? You have no idea how much emotional support is needed for people right now, especially for our healthcare workers and our janitorial staff at the hospitals and our grocery workers who are on the front lines and anybody else who can't work from home. Even just thanking them, you have no idea, will make the biggest difference in the world. In fact, there is a really beautiful quote that I hear before from Zig Ziglar, which is that gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. And if we just give each other a little extra appreciation and care during this time, we can make this one of the most profound coming togethers of all time. I know right now it's very fear-based and anxiety-driven for obvious reasons, but you don't need to emotionally distance from people. So here are a couple of ideas for creating community, and I'd love to hear yours. Number one, make it a goal to reach out to one person a day and see how they are doing. Number two, set up a FaceTime, a Google Hangout, a Zoom chat with friends or with clients. I'm really blessed where I get to be in an industry where I can shift my practice into purely online. I do have some of my meetings that I do in person, but the impact can also be done online to serve people. So is there a way that you can just chat with people, connect with them online, face to face? Number three, play board games at home with your kids or with your spouse or with your loved one. Physically engage in an activity together where you have a mission, you're doing something creatively. You can use this time if you're able to. This is another great coming together moment, even if it's in your own nuclear family. Number four, start a morning gratitude group text. So most people have that habit of picking up their phone first thing in the morning, and then they're just inundated with emails, fear stuff, news headlines is telling them more bad news. Well, you have control over that too, because you can change what the first thing you see on your phone is in the morning. In fact, I have a couple of gratitude group texts where our mission and our commitment every morning is to send your gratitudes or one positive message or a blessing to the entire group anytime before 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. So everybody needs to send one positive message to the entire group before 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I can't tell you what a great way to rig my environment for success. When I grab my phone first thing in the morning, I'm actually inundated with people's gratitudes, kind of like how you put here. I am inundated with positive quotes and messages. So I've created my own social media feed before I even step into the world. So this is what I call mental armor up. You've got to mentally armor up before you go into the battlefield of fear and anxiety, which is really the media landscape that we're in for the most part. So you can rig your environment for success. I'm going to encourage you, start a gratitude group text with your family or your friends and make it a commitment. Send each other your favorite things about the day, your morning gratitudes before a certain time. So you can start that very easily. And lastly, another idea, pray and meditate in person or online together, whatever that looks like. You can still create community, but you as a leader must take the initiative. Because most people are just sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, reacting to everything. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to know it. Then take charge. If you're listening to this call right now, you're watching the recording or you're watching live, that's your calling, is to lead from love and take charge and find ways to do that. You can create community right now. And who knows, you might reinvigorate relationships that have been dead for a long time, because now is the time you get to come together online. All right, so that's, again, remember, social distancing doesn't mean emotional distancing. All right, last thing, I kind of want to speed this up to honor your time because I know we're pretty much coming up on the hour. Next is creativity in chaos. And I want to pause and do this real quick, because if for whatever reason you do need to leave exactly at the hour dot, then I totally understand. Again, make sure that you email coaching@theultimatelife.com. Just put COVID-19, you'll get the rest of this talk and this PDF. And I'm going to post that on YouTube. But if you can stick around with me a couple more minutes, I promise it'll be worth your time. All right, now let's look at creativity in chaos. First question, Is it important to be creative right now? Why or why not? So type that in the chat box for me. I want to hear from you. Why is it important to be creative? Should we be? Is now the time? Or no, Camille, we just need to get through it, and we just got to face, logical facts. Is creativity important to you right now? Why or why not? So type that in the chat box for me. I love reading these gratefuls. I'm kind of waiting for you guys to chime in here, but I just read here from Rochelle, Thomas, Denise. Your gratefuls are fantastic. Katrina, I'm extremely grateful to have all my kids back under my roof. Yes, and that we are all healthy. How beautiful is that? Elaine, I'm also extremely grateful for my job. Really cool to hear. So is it important to be creative right now? Why or why not? I want to hear from you. So I want to show you two things. I did a presentation yesterday for one of my business partners, Joshua Smith, who is the probably leading real estate coach on the planet. He runs a company called GSD Mode, getstuffdonemode.com. I'm giving you the kids version of that. But gsdmode.com. And then I always do a once a month peak performance coaching session for his realtors and his group, which I think is coming up on about 1,000 members right now. But we talked yesterday about creativity and chaos, and I went really deep on this subject, but I want to give you kind of a high level view. The enemy to your confidence and your creativity is this: your comfort zone. Where we were once comfortable, and obviously right now it's a very uncomfortable time. Now this is where our confidence and creativity get to be flexed. Because there's no greater enemy to our confidence and creativity when we're just, everything's good. I've got everything. I've got enough toilet paper. I don't have to worry about stuff. Things are just coming to me. We get kind of mentally lazy, right? We don't have to do anything. But the minute you're out of your comfort zone, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a scarcity of resources. All of a sudden, boom, you're aware. You're taking action. And that's really how we build confidence, is the moment we experience it, the moment we take action. That's the only way we build confidence. Now, some people say, well, come on, when I have enough information, that also makes me more confident to do something. Right, but if you really want to take your confidence to the next level, use the information. You actually need to apply that information. And we get creative when resources are scarce, naturally. So while there's an enemy to our confidence and creativity, that enemy's actually been removed right now because most of us are way out of our comfort zone. We don't know what's going to happen to the economy. We really don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know if we're going to be able to get water or toilet paper. So this is where you get to flex confidence and creativity. So though you have an enemy, you also have an ally. And here are your two allies in creativity and your confidence. Is your story. So what is your story about how you can show up in this season? You heard a little bit from Rick Carlson. I believe he was on the chat talking about, hey, my fear is actually not making the most of this amazing time. So his story is, hey, there's opportunity here. There's a blessing. There's a way I can serve. And so his story is, we're going to find that. Versus maybe somebody else's story is, well, I don't know. Everything's just going to fall apart. I might as well give up. I'm just not going to do anything. I'll stop living life. Just two different stories. But because of their stories, they will act in accordance to that. So you're either going to increase your confidence right now based off of your story, or you are going to completely deplete it. That muscle of confidence will atrophy. It will not exist. So you have a choice right now. Can you elevate your story? Can you make it even better? And the other ally you have in this moment of time is what we call necessity. Necessity, and here's a quote I like. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? We think about it, scarcity is actually what causes resourcefulness for most people. Some of the most creative people I've ever met in my life have also been the poorest people I've experienced in developing nations. So I like to give the story of when I would go to the Philippines, I would visit these places called the barangays. So they're like little small towns, if you will. And in the barangay, sometimes there's barely any running water, or they don't have a lot of electricity. But I remember one time seeing this group of kids, no shoes, playing a full-on game of basketball. They had a basketball and a hoop. But as I looked a little bit closer when I was walking around, their basketball that they were bouncing was made out of rubber bands. Literally a full-size NBA official basketball, well, the size at least, was made out of rubber bands. And I just kept thinking how long it must have taken them to put all of those things together so that it would get big enough to be a basketball. And then their rim and their backboard and their net was just like a little plastic bucket, a wooden board, and I think whatever shoelaces were left over from the dumpster. But they were playing a full-on game of basketball with whatever resources they could gather. So it wasn't a lack of resources where they sat at home saying, well, I'm poor, I can't play basketball, I can't even afford a basketball. They said, well, let's get resourceful. Let's go find whatever we can find and just invent our own version of a basketball, invent our own version of a hoop. And they had a great time. So remember that it's never a lack of resources. It's only a lack of resourcefulness. And sometimes when things are taken away from us, when we're out of our comfort zone, that's the moment we get to be the most creative. So while most people will freak out and say, oh no, I can't do my regular prospecting with my clients right now, because how can I go out there? I'm not even allowed to knock on their doors or shake their hands or go to networking events. Well, then let's get creative. If the point was to connect with people, put out videos that are inspiring and motivating. Reach out to your clients directly via text or a video message and see how they're doing. There are still ways to accomplish the results, but we just got to get creative in our methodology. So anytime things start to feel scarce, I want you to train your mind to say, wow, this is the time to get resourceful. How can I be creative in this moment? And here are a few ways you can flex the muscle of creativity. So this is how you develop that mindset of creativity during chaos. I want you to practice asking more open-ended, imagination-based questions. And they can look like this. What if? So even asking, okay, well, what if the situation was different? What if we could have a basketball? What is it made out of? What could it look like? And let that run. Or what else is possible? Is there another way I can? How else can I do this? What other resources can we use here? So imagine speaking to a leader who has these questions lurking in the back of their mind versus running around, oh no, the sky's falling, this is happening, I don't know what to do, right? Who wants to follow that leader? Versus the person who says, all right, what if we tried this method? Will that work? And then they start speaking to the experts, the people who are really good in that area to figure it out. Or let's look at what else is possible. How else can we motivate and inspire and gather people? You know, is there another way we can approach this issue, this puzzle, this problem? The quality of the answers and the results you get depend on the quality of the questions you ask. So if you want great answers to what's going on right now, then we must ask a great question. So it really just depends what you input, because what you input is what you're going to output, right? So most people get crappy answers, sorry for the language for the kiddos, but they don't get very good answers because they're not asking very great questions. So I'm going to challenge you to ask more open-ended, imaginative questions. This is the creativity in chaos so that you can expand that part and get resourceful. All right, and before we jump into this last section here of what being a leader of love means, the final kind of, home and commitment that I'm going to ask each one of you to make, because even I want to live more in this world. I want to check the chat real quick. You answered some of the questions on creativity. We had here, Marcel, it's so important. I'm able to find new ways to keep my community engaged and my business relevant, especially now that we can't all gather. In fact, I want to give a great example here. Marcel is just an amazing woman, amazing entrepreneur. She is the principal at the principal over at the Beat Junkie Institute of Sound, and she's the co-founder of the Ladies of Sound, which is a DJ school out here in Los Angeles. And the Ladies of Sound is an international community for women who DJ. And what's amazing is Maricela, as they're trying to figure out new ways to stay engaged with their community, I noticed they just dropped a Spotify playlist for people who need to work from home. And I said, well, what a great way to keep your community and your clients and everybody engaged is just, they made a playlist. They made an easy playlist for me able to click play and listen to some great music while I'm walking around. That's what I mean about flexing your creativity. You can still add massive value. You just have to be creative now. So thank you again, Maricel, for doing that, for flexing your muscle of creativity. It's such an honor to coach you, Mama. Tim, real quick, he said, yes, it can sometimes be very therapeutic. I love that. It's healing and therapeutic and allow you to release from the stresses of normal day-to-day stresses. Puzzles, coloring books, creativity can sometimes be very expressive. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. It means a lot to be able to hear your feedback during this time. So now let's take it on home. So now that you have these tools to alleviate fear and anxiety, going big, beginning in gratitude, taking your 4-7-8 breath to relax, and then looking at your perspective. Do you only have the hammer, or are there other ways you can look at this situation? Now that you have those tools to alleviate the anxiety, then we can start engaging again, remembering that social distancing doesn't necessarily mean emotional distancing. And in fact, maybe you make it a new goal every day to reach out to somebody you haven't reached out to in a while. Now that you have a little extra time on your hands, serve somebody, give them a call, share this video with them, share a Monday mastery session with them, share your favorite podcast with them. Maybe create a watch party with this video on Facebook, or create a watch party on Facebook with any other video that you find inspiring. You can still create parties, but you got to do them online. Then for creativity and chaos, know that this is the most opportune time for you right now, because when the comfort zone is removed, when there is a necessity and a lack of resources, you get the opportunity to act, build your confidence, and flex your muscle of creativity. And you can use all 5 of those questions that I've given you to think about what if, what else is possible? What other resources can we use? How can we play basketball if all we have are rubber bands, a plastic bucket, and a wooden board? You can do it. It's just a matter of flexing that muscle. And then, of course, my phone is talking to me. Man, so weird how technology does that. All right, lastly, let's look at this. What being a leader of love means. So when I talk about leading from love, my job as a peak performance coach is to remove the fear and anxiety and the old stories that are limiting you, just like they limited me. Remember, if I never got rid of that limiting belief that was sitting in the back of my mind, I promise you we would not be sitting here today having this conversation. I would not be doing the work that I am with the people that I'm honored to serve and to coach if I didn't remove that story. So imagine what your life could look like if we finally removed that old story and you made the commitment to live at the highest God-given potential that's been planted within you. And I want you to know it's work. It's practice. Look at the greatest athletes of all time. They're not great because they just are naturally that way and they don't practice. Kobe Bryant was still on the court, 4 a.m., practicing his dribbling and his shooting skills, the same basic fundamentals to play his game at the level of excellence. And upon his passing, he left a legacy that reminded us to have not only a strong mentality, but to always play at excellence, which meant you practice, you train on a daily basis. This is not a one-time thing. So being a leader of love, playing at that highest level of excellence means this. Number 1, you commit to asking, how would love respond in this situation? And just see what your mind says. And you can also replace that, how would God respond in this situation? Whatever your faith is, I just want you to ask, what does love look like now? In this moment, in this conversation with my spouse, in this conversation with my kids, as I'm about to respond to this person at the grocery store who's being not so nice, how would love respond? And whatever comes up first, pay attention to that. Second, you are committed to forgiveness and compassion in all things. See, one of the key attributes of leading from love, and why it's so difficult is because the underlying root is learning the art of forgiveness. And remember that forgiveness is not saying what they did is okay. It's not a free pass to be mean, wrong, or abusive. Forgiveness is saying, I love myself too much and what I am focused on to let this anger and this resentment and this bitterness sit in me, so I let it go. And I don't wish that anything were different, because every part of my life has created me to be the person I am today, and for that I'm grateful. When you get to that level of acceptance, that means we've finally forgiven. And only when you've finally forgiven will you have true freedom. So that's why forgiveness is the commitment, and compassion and patience and grace is part of this. So if you're already seeing this like, oh, this is too hard, that's why being a leader of love is not for the easy. It's not for people who want the easy way. Leading from fear is easy. Leading from love is the challenge. That's why it's the highest standard. Number 3, you choose purpose over panic. Then when everybody else is panicking, you choose to focus on what is the purpose right now? What is my purpose right now? What can I get done? What can I control? How can I serve in this moment? Purpose over panic, because panic does nothing. Panic does nothing. It's a reaction to keep you in survival mode. But unfortunately, some people are also making it the choice, when the better choice is purpose. Panic is the reaction. Purpose can be your response. So which will you choose today? Choose, actively choose. I'm going to choose purpose, or I'm just going to choose to continue to panic because it just feels better. I get more attention that way. Panicking is easy. Then that's your choice. Then you will live in a world of panic. But if you choose, I want to be that change, I want to find purpose, I actually want to serve, I want to help, then that's a choice you get to make. And the leader of love chooses purpose. It ain't always easy, I get it. But that's why we come together in community, so I can root for your rise. So these people on the chat can root for your rise, they can pray for you, and we can keep focusing on purpose. And lastly, you practice care over complaint. The number one addiction that most Americans have, and perhaps around the world, and it's kind of a little joke, so I have no stats behind this, but the number one addiction people have is complaining. They like to complain. If I complain about this and complain about that, then I get attention. And look, we all have things going on in life. Sometimes we need to vent. We do need to let grievances air out. But imagine a life where you are focused more on caring about the situation and others and their emotions and their well-being and things getting to the next level over complaining. How much more solutions-oriented would you be? How much more wealthy would you be if you focused on creative solutions? And when I say wealthy, I'm talking about financial wealth, health as your wealth, wealth of energy, wealth of time, wealth of romance, of intimacy, wealth of energy, all forms of wealth. You become more wealthy when you focus on care and creativity versus complaints. There is not one CEO that I speak to who is doing extremely well in business and in life who comes to me immediately with just complaints. Everything that typically comes out of these people's mouths are solutions, or a new mindset, or a totally different way of seeing things than how most people see them, which is they look for the gratitude, the opportunity, and the blessing. So that pretty much wraps up our conversation for today. I really, really hope that all of these tools can help you one way or another, help you and your family. And even if you only take one thing from today, that can be more than the difference maker for the environment that you're going to be in your home and in your office moving forward, because there's an opportunity. I'm telling you, there's an opportunity in this time, and you can take hold of that. But you have to choose purpose over panic. You have to choose to be a leader of love versus a leader of fear, which is what you're going to see on most of the planet. You get to zig while everybody else zags. So if you want a copy of all of those tools, all of those questions, please make sure to email me at coaching@theultimatelife.com with this subject line, and I will send this to you. So here's what I want you to do as we wrap today, and we're going to actually end in prayer. So this is the actual end of the full-on content for today. So if you're done getting the content, I totally appreciate you being here. I hope this helps. And again, I'm going to be actually announcing a really short 4-week program on just mastering your mindset. For anyone who's interested, please send me that email. And I'm going to be announcing that 4-week masterclass so you can just stay calm during this very chaotic time. And during that 4-week masterclass, I will be your personal peak performance coach live once a week. So more details on that to come. But be sure you email me if you want to be in on that. But again, I want to go ahead and end us in prayer. So if you want to opt for that, you can do that. And I'm going to check the chat right now. Go ahead and put in the chat box for me any questions you have, or if you're ready, one key takeaway. What are you taking away from today's session? What is your key takeaway from today? Type it in the chat box. I definitely want to hear from you. Let me put up that email again. Somebody did ask. Can you put the email? I'll leave the email up there while people email me. If I were you, do it right now because you'll forget later. So if you're ready, if you want that PDF, I would do that right now while I check the chat box. But what is your one key takeaway? The thing that resonated the most with you? It could be with your kids too, with you. I would love to hear. Jeremy, you're so welcome, brother. For sure. Jeremy, big takeaway. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Awesome. Thomas, I love the breathing technique. Rick, thank you. I got your email address. That's perfect. Thank you, brother. Thank you. What is your key takeaway here? Jessica, my one takeaway, stop and look again. Oh, I like that. I guarantee there's an opportunity and a blessing. Yeah, your perspective is everything. You know, whoever looks for the blessing will find it. Whoever looks for the fear and the failure and then the horrible things, they'll also find that. Katrina put, I will choose to zig in love while most choose to zag in fear. That's a new one. I haven't said that one before. I think I'm going to have to put that on Instagram or tweet it. I'll give you full credit, Katrina. That was really good. I will choose to zig in love while most choose to zag in fear. I kind of want to make a t-shirt that says that too. Rick, to be confident, this is your time to shine. Yeah, that's what's up. Remember, no more comfort zones. All the training wheels have been taken off, my friends. You can't go to sporting events and you can't watch it on TV to be distracted. You can't go to the concerts anymore. You have to be at home and talk to your family. Oh, who knew? We can't even get distracted anymore. We actually have to be present with one another. I actually have to address these things. We don't have an abundance of distractions around us. Maybe this is your time to get in tune. Maybe this is it. So again, stick around if you want to join me in that group prayer. I'm going to be getting to that in a second. Suzanne's takeaway, to breathe. Who thought? There is power in the pause. By the way, you can share all of this on social media. You're welcome. I put my little tag right here. Just be sure you tag at theultimatelife.com. I'd appreciate it. And I can repost you too if you've taken any screenshots or phone shots. I appreciate you. She said to be calm and creatively resourceful. Right. Remember, it's never a lack of resources, only a lack of resourcefulness. You can get really resourceful. Get some rubber bands, make a basketball, and play on a full half-court game. So it's really up to you. It just depends how badly do you want it. Rick Carlson, what you focus on expands. Correct. Correct. Your thoughts, your perspective, and your focus is pumping. It's like putting air into that thing that you're focusing on. So whatever your thoughts are, that's what you're really expanding in your life. Right? So if your thoughts are all things that are negative, guess what's going to happen? Whoom. You get a world of negativity. You get a world of fear. But if your thoughts and your focus and your environment and your conversations and your friends are one of positivity and of gratitude, and mind you, here's the counter argument I get. I'm still waiting on many of you to put your takeaway, so thank you again. But the argument I get from some people is, well, Camille, things are not rosy right now. You know, that's nice. You want to be positive and all, but there's really some serious stuff happening. Oh, I get that. That's why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to help you do your job, whether you are a healthcare worker, you're a public health official who's trying to make sure that everybody follows the rules. I'm getting people to stay calm and steady and creative so you can do your job in an even easier way. Because imagine, do you think a doctor and a nurse wants to deal with a panicking patient or a calm patient so they can heal them? So it's the same thing with you. When you're going in there, are you trying to make their job easier or harder? It's already hard enough. You know, let's show some appreciation for the healthcare workers, the janitorial staff, the engineers, the people who can't work from home, everybody who's out there, grocery workers and staff, the restaurant managers who are the people doing the takeout right now and trying to deliver as many things as possible so people don't have to leave their homes. Those are the people we want to show appreciation for. So much appreciation for them. So thank you. And anybody else who I missed out, thank you. Last thing, Kim says, thank you for a great hour, positive suggestions, and a myriad of things we can be working on to help ourselves and others. And thank you for praying us out. One small thing I commit to do is start a gratitude statement on social media each day. Yes, girl, flood their feeds with what is also blessed and great in your life. Be the change makers, and now is your season. If there was any time for you to be a leader of love, it's when everybody is in fear. This is where we need to show up. This is our time. This is our calling. Cynthia, my takeaway, to make the most of this time instead of giving in to fear. Right. Absolutely. Because remember, you have an ally. And I know with Cynthia, you know, we'll talk about this right now as we go into prayer, but your faith is your ally. God is your ally. So all you have to do is turn on the valve of surrender, let God take over, boom. You work on it together. And then finally, I want to end here with Abby. Thank you for reminding us that our perspective is also influenced on where we get our info from. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guard the door of your mind. Guard the door of your mind. Because Imagine, it's kind of like having the door of your house. Do you just let any random stranger in? Do you just let super negative, manipulative, abusive, horrible people into your house? No, you protect that house. I'm going to only let people in who I know, I trust, I respect, because I need to protect what's inside that house. So your brain is the same way. Are you protecting what's inside this temple, this house? No, you're just taking any fear-mongering attitude. You're taking all this negative conversation from people that's not even factual. That's why I want you to go to the facts. You bring in the people into your house that you vetted out, AKA you bring in the information that you vetted out from a source that you trust and respect. That's why guard the door of your mind. Kalani, I appreciate you. Way to be the love in life. Oh, thank you, Doc. I so appreciate you, my mentor and my good friend. It's an honor and a blessing to have you here and spend time with us today. Thank you, Doc Kalani. We'll have to do something soon and perhaps get you on a live as well. Dan Papa, where can I see the replay for this? Jumped on late. I need to see this. So don't worry, again, as I mentioned, everybody, I will post the replay. If you just go to YouTube, type in my name, Camille Rose Soler. I'm going to actually pull this up for you right now. Here are all the ways that you can contact me and find me. Please follow. This is where I'll be posting the replay of this. And here's my suggestion to you. Another way you can create community is when I post this on Facebook, do a watch party. Like you can announce to people, hey, friends and family, anybody who didn't see this, I'm going to do a watch party with you. And here's the cool thing, engage with them on the watch party. Because on Facebook, you can chat and you can say, hey, what are your key takeaways? Do exactly what I did here. Right? So I want you to do that because you'll be able to reach people I can never reach. And the more leaders of love we can create, then boom, changes the game on the type of society that we get to live in during this season of fear. Rick Carlson, let's be part of the weekly group you talked about. Fantastic, brother. Please shoot me an email at coaching@theultimatelife.com. And as I mentioned, again, whether you're watching in the recording or the live, I'll be launching kind of a new, and this is just in response to what's going on, a really quick 4-week masterclass where I'll be your peak performance coach on a weekly basis live, talking about mastering your mindset so that you can prepare yourself for what's going to happen after this sort of calms down. Because we want to make sure that we hit the ground running the minute we're allowed to go outside. So this is the time for preparation. Nelson Mandela always tells a story that when he was in prison, people asked him, like, how did that make you feel when you were in prison? You were locked up, you had no freedom. And his response was so beautiful because Nelson Mandela replied, I wasn't in prison. I was in preparation. And he said, I was in preparation because he knew that moment in time where he had to be quarantined, actually there, he was preparing himself, reading books, writing letters, getting ready for the moment that he would have freedom so that he could lead his people. So are you using this time to be in panic? Or are you using this time to prepare? Prepare for the next level of your business, of your life, of your family life? Now is the time. Now is the time for you to show up. So thank you again for watching. I'm going to stop the recording now. We're going to jump into prayer, but I'm going to stop the recording. So if you're watching it, go ahead and contact me here to get a copy of this slide deck and to get more information on that 4-week masterclass on mastering your mindset. Thank you again for watching, everybody. And as always, keep leading from love. Stick around for the prayer after the recording.